The Democrat Party and the mainstream media are in absolute panic over the Supreme Court decision that gives Donald Trump immunity, full immunity, in his official acts as president of the United States. Yes, because that's what it means to be president, right? That's what it means. When you are president, you have immunity from certain things. Did Obama see any consequences when he killed an American citizen by a drone strike? He was an American citizen. Did he see any consequences? Was there even any really talks about Obama seeing consequences over this situation? And this situation, I believe, is a much more serious and dire situation than what they are saying Donald Trump is guilty of. Insurrection, the worst. But they are absolutely panicking over this decision. Because why? Because that means that they are losing, and they are losing quickly and badly and hugely. They are losing hugely. AOC has come out also, and she is threatening with her little, baton or whatever. She's got to jump in on the action. Say, hey, look at me over here. I'm AOC. I'm going to come up with the craziest take of it all. She threatens to file impeachment on the Supreme Court justices. We'll get into that here in a second. But MSNBC is melting down, but they have admitted that the decision effectively kills Jack Smith's entire January 6th indictment of President Donald J. Trump. Listen.
Supreme Court has just handed down its decision on presidential immunity. Again, it's a mixed bag decision. There's some presidential immunity. There's presidential immunity for official acts, not for unofficial acts. But the way that they've worded it, as we've been discussing at this table and with our guests, is that it does seem to lean heavily toward Donald Trump's arguments here that he can do what he wants to do as president of the United States. Let's bring in NBC's Ken Delaney outside of the Supreme Court. Ken, what do you have?
Yeah, Katie, I think the analysis here has been spot on. The decision goes a long way to say that the president is not above the law and that private acts, unofficial acts, are not immune. But if you look at what the implications for Jack Smith's indictment of former President Trump, they appear to be dire, because there's a whole section in the indictment about Donald Trump's efforts to enlist the Justice Department to allegedly falsely proclaim that there was fraud in the election, write letters to states. That is completely out, according to this decision. And then you get to his conversations with Vice President Mike Pence, which are a key part of the indictment. This decision says that there's a presumption that those are immune, but that prosecutors could seek to rebut that in the lower courts. And then it also says that his public statements, the public statements of any president, are largely immune. And so the speech at the ellipse, any social media, the tweets, the Truth Social posts by Donald Trump about January 6th, that is largely out of this case. What is possibly remaining in the case are Donald Trump's and his allies' conversations with state officials, with private parties in their efforts to get state officials to conduct investigations into bogus allegations of fraud. And what this decision says is that all that has to go back down to the district judge, who has to scrutinize in close detail every single one of these allegations and decide what constitutes private conduct, what could possibly be official acts. And then, of course, that's appealable. And so the idea that this case could go to trial before the election is completely out the window. That's not happening. And in fact, it could take a year or more to sort through this stuff, even if Donald Trump doesn't win the election and this case still goes forward. This Supreme Court decision greatly complicates this major indictment of Donald Trump by the special counsel, Katie.
Bye-bye, Jack Smith. See you later. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. And MSNBC. Now, if I looked smug to you while I was watching this clip, it's because it felt so good. MSNBC, so disappointed that we are not a full communist nation at this point. Some of these things, it looks like official acts have to be determined by some lower courts, and they're appealable. Oh, the horror. No, they're appealable. It's going to take so long to sort through all of these things. We can't just go after a president of the United States. It'd be one thing if they were asking for this same thing on any of the past presidents, the uniparty presidents or Democrat presidents, any of those. But no, it's specifically spotlighted on Donald J. Trump for whatever reason. You can draw your own conclusions over that. But MSNBC went on to provide absolute stellar analysis of this Supreme Court decision. And they came up with this very smart hypothetical situation of what if a president decides that a political adversary is a threat to democracy and orders the killing? Yeah, that's actually something that was said live on air. And I find it really hilarious that they put this onus on Trump. Like, what if Trump does this? What if Trump does that with this type of power? Yet they never turn the spotlight at Joe Biden, someone who is actively doing this to Trump as we speak. One of these cases against Trump is falling apart based off of this very decision, this Jack Smith case, which is fantastic. And these other cases, such as the hush money case against Donald Trump, where he was convicted on 34 felony counts, where the lead prosecutor, one of the lead prosecutors was Matthew Colangelo, a former Biden Department of Justice official. But no, it's Donald Trump who is going to use these powers in a nefarious way. Listen.
This decision today makes it so imperative that the person who holds the office understand the limits on and exercises those powers with restraint, because the thing that is not dealt with here is the hypothetical that was dealt with in the Court of Appeals about SEAL Team 6. And it is unclear how they actually studiously avoid dealing with that, because you could make the argument that that is official conduct. At the very least, presumptively
how would
official.
you make that argument?
You'd sit there and say, I have determined as commander-in-chief that this is necessary. And the way that Judge Pan in the lower court phrased it was, what if the president decides that a political adversary is a threat to democracy and orders the killing? That is, and why isn't that now an official act with a presumption of immunity? And you don't look at motive. You can't consider that he's doing it to get rid of his adversary.
So if you look at the past 3.5 years of Biden's presidency, and then before that, Trump's presidency, the 4 years of Trump's presidency, which one do you believe exercised restraint as president? Most of you guys remember during Trump's rallies, we heard the chant, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up, referring to who? Of course, Hillary Clinton. And did Donald Trump, much to the chagrin of probably a lot of us, did he actually go after Hillary Clinton, his political opponent? No, he did not. He did what? He exercised restraint. And now that Joe Biden is in office, who is under attack constantly with ridiculous indictments, ridiculous cases, ridiculous trials, rigged trials. Yes, you would be correct in your assessment when you say, I am talking about Donald Trump. So when you weigh these two individuals, Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, I think it would be logical to come to the conclusion that Donald Trump, in fact, is the one who would exercise restraint under these cases. But somebody who is extremely upset over this decision by the Supreme Court and who believes that she knows better than the Supreme Court is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And, she has to jump in on the action because, she is a boss babe. She don't need no man. She is a feminist, and she's going to fight against the patriarchy or whatever she thinks in her mind, whatever rattles around up there in her mind. This is what's going on, guys. This is big stuff. Big news. AOC threatens to file impeachment articles against conservative-led Supreme Court. Oh, no. The whores. Democrat Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Monday threatened to file impeachment articles against the Supreme Court justices over corruption allegations when Congress returns next week. Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito have been engulfed in ethics and corruption scandals over the past year. Allegations against Thomas center on certain luxury trips he took with family friend billionaire Harlan Crow over the years, which he admitted on disclosure forms. Did she ever say anything about Fani Willis? Yeah, but she wants to put the spotlight on Clarence Thomas. Alito's ethics scandal centers on his failure to recuse himself from cases related to January 6th and Donald Trump after controversial pro-Trump flags were spotted outside two of Alito's homes. Oh my goodness, you got to be kidding me. That's big news. You're telling me, people in the justice system should not be supporting certain candidates? A certain judge comes to mind under the name of Juan Merchan, who donated to President Biden's campaign, who has a daughter who runs a organization that raises money for many prominent Democrats, hundreds of millions of dollars, who used her own dad's trial against Trump to raise money for Democrats. So the two-facedness is just absolutely insane here. AOC did not disclose which Supreme Court justice she would target in her statement, but took aim at the conservative-led court as a whole. She also did not state exactly when the impeachment articles would be filed. This is a quote from X by the great AOC. The Supreme Court has become consumed by a corruption crisis beyond its control. Today's ruling represents an assault on American democracy. There it is, guys. American democracy. It's an assault on American democracy. Have you noticed that every single thing that we do as conservatives to save our nation is an assault on democracy? Every single thing. Doesn't matter what it is. It is up to Congress to defend our nation from this authoritarian capture. I intend on filing articles of impeachment upon our return. Okay, AOC. We are really scared. The impeachment threat comes after the Supreme Court ruled on Monday that presidents have presidential immunity for official acts, which could throw a wrench in prosecuting Trump for his alleged efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Presidents and former presidents do not have immunity over unofficial acts. So these are things that will be battled out in lower courts. The high court did not specifically state what constitutes official acts versus unofficial acts. So a lower court will now have to determine which acts in Trump's Washington, D.C. indictment constitute official or private acts before the case can move forward. But Trump does have immunity for actions within his conclusive and preclusive constitutional authority. Only one Supreme Court justice has ever been impeached, according to Newsweek. Former Supreme Court Justice Samuel Chase was impeached in 1804, so a long time ago, over refusing to dismiss biased jurors, but he was later acquitted by the Senate. It is not clear if other House Democrats would be supportive of AOC's effort, but Senate Democrats have been critical of the Supreme Court's handling of the alleged ethics scandals. So we'll see if this gains any steam, but sorry to say, AOC, the Republicans control the House, so this is not going anywhere. But what do you guys think? Mainstream media melting down. Very, very disappointed. Very sad. Crying big fat liberal tears over this Supreme Court decision. I absolutely love it. After many years of Donald Trump being prosecuted, having this lawfare hurled against him, the Supreme Court has made this decision, and it's huge. It's absolutely huge. Massive critical blow to the Democrats. But let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Join me on my morning show tomorrow morning between 8 and 9 a.m. live. But we will see you on the next one.